Hello, everybody. Richard Time here, and in just a moment, we're going to be joining Martin again for another coaching session. I recommend going back and watching the first session if you want to know like what I'm doing with Martin and why I'm doing it. I'm not going to keep going over it. But yeah, Martin's a low stakes player. Previous video, he was playing on PokerStars. He's moved to iPoker. These hands going forward are going to be iPoker hands. In today's video, we talk a lot about the emotional side of the game and like why that sometimes leads us to make mistakes and like yeah, I think it's an interesting video. I'm doing the intro after video. I think you guys, if you enjoyed the first video, you'll enjoy this one too. If you are intending on watching the video and not just instantly turning off, please hit the like button, subscribe, comment, all that shit. Because the last video, people really liked it. I got some good feedback on it, and I'm hoping they're going to continue enjoying this series and show Martin a bit of love. Hit the likes, hit the comments, and yeah, show him some love and support. Without further ado, let's get into the session with Martin. So how's it been going since last time we chatted, fella? And please be honest, I haven't asked you this question yet in our preamble because I don't want it to sound contrived. So how's it been going since we last chatted?
It's not too bad. I think I've been playing a bit better, a bit more confident. Taking on a bit of advice that you've given me.
What, mate, sorry?
I took a bit of advice that you've given me, like a bit bigger and stuff like that on the streets. And yeah, it's been going better than it has the previous weeks.
Excellent. And how's that nasty autopilot been going? Have you turned that off at all?
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
Most. I know it's impossible to do it completely. Sometimes we just zone out, don't we?
Yeah.
I played a session on Sky last night, and for about 20 minutes, I was just not there. I just wasn't present. I was playing, but I wasn't present. And I found we set like 3 buy-ins down. Like, what the fuck? They had to grind 4 hours to book a mighty £3.47 win. Because I was just so annoyed with myself because I just zoned out. And like, when you're playing and it happens, you're like, oh, well, that was just a cooler or that was unlucky. It's fucking not. I just zoned out and then got my ass kicked. Just got punished for like 3 stacks in 20 minutes just through some shitty, lazy autopilot. It's so fucking damaging. It's so damaging. Just spots where you could look back and you could chalk it up to a cool, like, oh, I had fucking kings and, you know, we got 40% of the money in before the ace come. But yeah, but then I put 60% of money in after it come. You know, just little things like that where you did have the best hand and now you don't, and then you pay anyway.
It's quite hard to get out of though, isn't it? Once you sit in your way, sort of thing. So it's just a case of
what was that? Sorry, bud. It's hard to what?
Get out you. Once you sit in your way, it's quite hard to get out of.
Oh yeah, it's that. You know, it's like what was the old song? It's a hard habit to break. If you've got bad habits in poker, you can break them when you're really concentrating and focused. But the minute you lapse into autopilot, and then maybe things don't go as well for you, you'll just return to your old behaviours. It reminds me of a story years ago when I was a union rep, and we had a manager who was a real arsehole. He was a bully. When things were going wrong, his behaviour was absolutely fucking dreadful. And we tried to get him sacked on numerous occasions. We failed, and they sent him on like an anger management course and some sort of other behavioural sort of course thing. But I was chatting to the big manager one day. I said, look, it's working now. It's coming around. He's smart. He's being nice. But then when things go wrong, he returns to type. And he said, well, that's it. He said, all these courses that you send people on, he said, you can change people's behaviours in the short term, but long term, it's really hard to change people's fucking character. And if it's
something triggers it off.
Yeah. If your default character is to, when you're under pressure, is to be a total shithouse, then when you're under pressure, you're going to be a total shithouse. Yeah, when you're not under pressure, you can do all that. You can smile at people, say good morning, and be pleasant. But when the shit hits the fan, mostly you return to type. And that's the same in poker. You know, like you can work on your mental game a lot, and you can improve it significantly. So you tilt less, or you. However it is you tilt, like I tilt passively generally, I'll just end up being a calling station. And you can reduce the frequencies of that happening. But by fuck, when it starts happening, it doesn't fucking stop. You return to those old behaviours. And I think the key in poker is when you notice that you're starting to slip into old behaviours, is to just mostly end your session. Because you can be conscious of it, but it's still really fucking hard to control it because you're in the moment. You've got whatever amount of table's bleeping at you. Your stress levels are higher. Your adrenaline's pumping. What have you? You're a bit annoyed, and you quite frankly, you just don't think straight.
Especially when you're losing as well. You chase your losses. Don't you, sometimes?
The advice a lot of people give it is to just take a minute, chill out, refocus, remind us. It just doesn't. It's really hard to do that because you could do that. You're like, right, refocus, settle down. Then you'll fuck your 4-bet ace king. Then it'll come 7 high again, and then you'll be frustrated all over again. So I think once you've started slipping down that slippery slope in the session, your best
to walk away.
Give yourself however long it takes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, the next day, whatever. You've got to give yourself a chance to recuperate and reset. Yeah. Anyways, that's by the by. Let's have a look at this answer. Okay. And you're going to take the lead and tell me why you think you did stuff. I'm not going to put words into your mouth, and then we're going to go from there.
I think that's okay to raise it there.
Are we isolating the 17-0 guy, are we?
Yeah, the skeezer here.
Yes, right, okay, yeah.
The raise, so he limped and raise. I did write notes saying.
So what does that say? Sorry, fella, I'm a bit far away from the screen.
Okay.
And my eyes, I'm a fucking old man.
Oh, you can't make it bigger or anything. This is a limp call. It's normally pretty fishy.
Right. What do you think my issue is going to be here with this call of this limp race?
I don't know.
Right, well, first of all, we've got no sample on the guy, but he's 17/0, and I'm presuming that's this hand, because that's 17 is like 1 of 6, is it? Something like that?
Yeah.
So this is probably going to be this hand that's counted for his VPIP. I have no issue with the isolation, but what sort of hands do you think people are typically limp raising with?
Probably pocket pairs.
How far down the pocket pair scale?
Probably 10s lower.
10s and lower? So you think people are doing this with like pocket 5s and things?
Yeah, I think they're probably just limping at first, and I don't know.
I think maybe you can never talk in absolutes, but the under the gun limp raise, my default is just right. Well, that's probably aces, maybe like kings, queens. And it could be some, like, you see some people in the games I play, they'll do it and they'll turn it with all kinds of random shit, but they're not playing a 17 VPIP. They're playing like 65-0. So they're limping their entire range, and then maybe they're raising all the good stuff, the stuff that should have just opened.
Yeah, so I think you would have opened the aces and kings. So I think that was my thinking.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that is the natural assumption. That's why I don't mind the isolation. Because the guy's, a typical under the gun limping range is going to be a lot of, in my opinion, small to medium pairs, suited connectors. Maybe someone's just like quite tight, but just limps everything. There's a player in my games who plays like 20/1. He just literally limps everything except, I'm presuming, aces. I'm presuming the 1% is like, this is the one I don't limp. But when the limp and raise, I think that range is like significantly reduced, and I think we have a really horrible hand to defend against a limp range, a limp raise range. Like, it's just like so dominant. Even if this guy's like limp raising stuff like king queen, ace jack, ace king, things like that. I just think we're absolutely fucked by his range. We're at best. What's the best we could be doing here? If he's got 10-9, we're basically flipping. It's very rare we're going to have anything dominated that does this, because our hand's just pretty crap. It's not suited, so it's not even going to play that well post flop. I think this generally should just be a turbo fall to limp raise. Yeah, I think fair enough. ISO without question. You need to ISO this hand. It's too strong. But when we get limp raised, his range changes significantly. Now, I'm guessing at the time of this hand, his stats were 0-0 over 5. So we don't know anything. We literally know nothing about him, whether he's folded 5 hands in a row. We all do that from time to time. So we know nothing about him. Then he limps, so then we're like, right, okay, well, this guy might be passive. We think he might be tight, but we're not certain. But then he's limp raised. and our hand is just really. I think that this is the problem with this sort of thing. Like pre-flop, we're like, well, King Jack, let's see a flop, but then we're going to be playing 24 big blind pot without the initiative, with a hand that's not going to know what to do on many, many boards. If we flop like a jack, how much money are we willing to put in? If it just say it comes jack 4 deuce, and he just like bets 2/3 pot on the flop, are we folding then? We probably can't. It's really awkward. I think
What's play afterwards?
Yeah, I think we're setting ourselves up for a pretty big fall here. We're gonna have to flop gin to be really comfortable, because we're fucked by aces, we're fucked by kings, we're still dominated by queens, we're still dominated by jacks. So we've got to get that pocket tens before we've got a flip situation. And then they're like, ace king's got us fucked, ace jack's got us fucked, king queen's got us fucked. And then he's got a lot of other stuff where he hasn't got us fucked, like ace 10, maybe ace queen, where it's probably a relatively fair fight and we have position. But it's just we're just setting ourselves up in my opinion, a really bad spot here. And I think this should easily be a pretty easy fold to a limp race, because there's just rarely a bluff, so rarely a bluff. I'd say, like, in my experience, the limp raise, especially from someone who isn't playing like a maniac, the limp raise is just like, it's
pretty strong.
Yeah, it's a big red flag of, hello, I'm nutted.
Okay.
King Jack just doesn't do well against a typical limp raise range.
I thought it was quite opposite. I thought it'd be quite weak, but
no. Well, this guy might turn up as being quite weak in this hand. Now he might shut me up, and he might turn up with pocket threes or something. But typically limp raises need to be hugely respected. Not that the play itself, it's a bad play, but the strength of the range needs to be respected, I think, when it happens.
Okay. Should we click?
Oh yeah. Well, now we've got the exact scenario that I was dreading. We got top pair, and let's see what happens next.
Okay. He bets.
He bets about 2/3 pot. What's the price? Okay. So what are you thinking now? We're calling. Are you calling trapping here, or are you calling with a bit of trepidation?
Calling with a bit of, I think I'm probably an head still.
You probably what? Sorry.
An head still.
You think you're a head still?
Yeah.
So okay. So early on, you said you thought he was limping like small pocket pairs, etc., limp raising them.
I know he's probably them now, but
do you now think he then bets upwards of 2/3 pot with, say, pocket fives on this flop?
No, not really.
So but you said you think you're still ahead. So now what do you think you're ahead of?
I don't know. Tens probably, not even queens, is it?
I'm not trying to show you up or belittle you, by the way, fella. It's just like, if we put him on a small pocket pair pre, and then he's bombed the flop, do we think typically that population are limp raising, say, pocket sixes here, and then just going fucking nutty post flop? It's just a lot of things that are unlikely to happen.
No, but I think just C betting is quite standard. So I think he would have done it with any board, to be honest.
See,
just trying to get me off.
I think that's another relatively lazy assumption. And again, I'm not being mean. But I've got such a big database of things, and C betting isn't that standard anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'd imagine the average population C bet now is probably not much more than 50%, and I reckon out of position that goes down quite significantly. Yeah, well into the 40s. So again, it's just it's another sort of stereotype that you're defaulting to, or C betting standard. It used to be years ago. You'd open up for 3 big blinds, and then you'd C bet for 4.5 big blinds. In a heads up pot, and that was that. It's just what you did. People had close to 100% C bets because they'd read Super System, and Super System said, always continuation bet. You'd be surprised how much they fold, etc. So again, it's kind of just a lazy, old school,
old-fashioned
way of thinking. Well, not even lazy. If it's all if it's what you think but you've got a hood, and you've got access to the same stats we've all got, and you probably should have noticed that the average player, or I'm not saying you're going to converge on your stats and try and get a population read, but it's surprising that you thought a continuation bet was standard. Now I get in this spot where people have limp raised. They probably had, this is a 3-bet pot, isn't it? And people do c-bet more in 3-bet pots. So I will give you that. That's correct. In 3-bet pots, c-bet frequencies are much higher because typically ranges are a lot narrower. So I will give you that. But I'm not sure this is like a standard c-bet spot for a lot of people in terms of like how much air they have in their range, because it's a limp raised pot. So I'm already pre-programmed to be like, well, this is a strong range. It's limp raised, and now it's betting really big. And maybe I'm just a fucking paranoid old Nick. Who knows? I mean, I really hope you win. I hope I look like a complete dick at the end of this. I hope it's got like fucking pocket threes and and you call down and win and out like a moron. But at the minute, this is looking a lot like pocket aces, pocket kings to me.
Okay, should we continue?
Yeah, let's wind it along, fella.
Okay, so 2 comes. He bets nearly half pot, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he hasn't gone all in there. I'm not sure what he's leaving 14 bigs behind for, but there you go. So now what are you thinking?
I think I'm still ahead for some reason. I don't know why. Just
Do you actually think you're still ahead, or are you just thinking, fuck you, I've got top pair and I ain't folding it? What is it actually happening in? Do you genuinely think you can still be ahead? If so, what do you think you're still ahead of? And we do need to be honest here, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Or is there an element of, I've got top pair, mate, I'm not fucking folding it? Which is it more? Is it more, I think I'm ahead, so I'm going to make a call, or I've got top pair and fuck you?
I've got top pair and fuck you, probably.
Yeah. And I guess I'm not trying.
I don't know why, but it's just.
And I'm not trying to make you look silly either. I promise.
No.
But like I said, I've like coached loads of people down the years, and they will quite often like not like share that what their real emotions were during the hand. They'll try and like talk about it in a poker sense when this is just your emotions acting here. You know, you kind of probably know this guy's probably got eights or something like that, but you've got top pair and you're just not emotionally strong enough to say, you know what, fine, you've got me this time, mate. And I'm saying you and the fuckies, we're all the same sometimes. You know, where you've had a good hand pre-flop and then it's not a good hand anymore, and then you still call down with it.
You don't know why you do it, but it's just
yeah, of course, because you just get emotionally attached to your hand. Yeah, fuck you, I'm not folding this one. I don't care that you're repping a better hand. I'm just not folding. And they're the kind of like emotional leaks that we need to eliminate, because they're probably some of the most damaging traits we can have as a poker player, where your hand at some point your hand was really strong, and it's not like you flop a set and then the board will run out to a 4-line and a 3 flush and you'll still call the fucking river despite the fact there's no chance the opponent's betting, like value betting worse than the set, and there's very little chance that they're bluffing. But you do it because on the flop I had top set, so fuck you, I'm not folding it. And it seems like a similar situation.
It is a bit of pride, I guess.
Yeah, pre-flop you're just like, fuck you, I'm not folding to you, and then you flop top pair and you're like, double fuck you, I'm not folding, and now you're just really fucking hoping that the guy's got the queen jack and doesn't have the aces, I guess.
I ain't too sure what I've done.
Yeah.
That's it.
I get why you've done it, but I'd be very surprised if this is the best hand, but I hope it is.
I think it was, to be honest.
Wow. So he was the one guy who was fucking around. Yeah, I mean, the pre-flop argument still stands. We are dominated. We just got lucky this time, and then we got a guy who clearly knows what he's trying to represent. He obviously knows that I'm trying to represent aces. I've got an ace and a king in my hand, blah, blah, all that fucking nonsense. I mean, I admire his spirit. I do admire his spirit, but even though we won the hand, and I'm genuinely pleased that you did, I think the lesson to be learned here is that like pre-flop limp raises, just give them way more respect than you did. I mean, this guy just punted here, and in a little vacuum of this hand, he's made me look silly and made you look like a fucking genius, which is brilliant because you won the pot. But I think all the things I've said about limp raise ranges and typically how people then play post flop, I think stands true most of the time.
Yeah, no.
And then this hand is like the exception that proves the rule, I guess. That sometimes, of course, they are just like bluffing. But I think it's going to be way more likely this type of hand that's bluffing than like the pocket pairs that you mentioned, because the pocket pairs might try and get to showdown.
Okay.
Whereas
That definitely
here,
makes sense.
he's like, well, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he thinks he's semi-bluffing. Maybe he's just trying to make you fold like pocket tens,
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what he's been thinking? Because the guy's limp raised under the gun. And I used to love a little bit of limping. But I got bullied out of it by my peers down the years. I wish we could still limp, but we're just not allowed to anymore, I'm afraid.
I think I didn't made that limp raising was quite weak.
I'd imagine if you were if you had an afternoon one day where your pocket light wasn't working and you were really fucking bored and you ran a filter for the times you were limp raised, I'd imagine you'd change that opinion pretty quickly.
Yeah, probably. So I don't know why I think that, but it's just probably that's why I played it the way I did, probably. So
no, that's fair enough. And you won the pot, and we spent like 10 minutes discussing all the things that he didn't fucking have that I thought he would have. But I still think it was like a valuable conversation to have with you, because I don't want you going forward like disrespecting the strength of range of a limp raise. Now, if someone's like playing a 60 VPIP and the limp raising relatively frequently, then that changes. But I'd think without any extra information, probably approach limp raises with extreme caution. Yeah, until you've got reason not to.
No, I definitely learned something, because I thought it was a very range, to be honest. I thought it was quite weak.
So there you go. That's 1-0 to you. You've won a pot that I fucking hated.
This one. You ready yet?
Yep.
Three bets from the big blind. I think I'll just call it.
Why not a 4-bet?
I don't know, because I think he was pretty regular player.
Yeah.
And I thought he'd be quite strong in his range, especially being in the big blind that position.
But here's the thing, right, with big blind 3-bet ranges, they're very different to small blind 3-bet ranges. Or they should be. Now, whether they are or not in reality, I suspect they're not. But in theory here, he should be quite polarized. He should have like lots and lots of really, really good hands. And then he's like should have some pretty fucking rubbish ones too. He's gonna have a pretty wide calling range. So I think, for example, here in theory, he should be like 3-betting maybe for value, like probably 9s, at least at some frequency and higher, and then a lot of like ace queen suited, and a lot of like the really good stuff in the top left hand corner of the grid, and then a lot of the stuff down in like the suited king X stuff and all kinds of the solvers have all kinds of random nonsense in there that humans don't find, which is why I doubt this guy's got that portion of the range. I suspect it's probably quite linear still. It's really hard to find like a lot of the 3-bets that the solver wants to find from the big blind. They're really counterintuitive, and unless you've studied really quite well, you're just not going to find them. And I suspect most players don't find them. Like the vast majority of the pool are probably still quite linear. So like I get that. Well, if he is really polar here, I don't mind throwing the occasional flat in, to be honest with you, to like keep his. If he's like the sort of player who's 3-betting king 8 suited, for example, here, then I love the flat, because he's never going to call a 4-bet with that, and we've got him absolutely fucking dominated. But I suspect if he's 3-betting linear, he's going to like probably put too much money in with hands that we have dominated, like ace queen, ace jack, king queen suited, all those hands. If he's 3-betting linear, he's gonna have a hard time folding to a 4-bet, because it's going to be all the pretty stuff. And people don't like folding pretty stuff, full stop, do they? So I think I would probably just 4-bet here and
I did write it down. I should
get it in.
4-bet.
Yeah, I think you probably should have. I know you're saying, I think he's probably quite strong. We're quite fucking strong too.
That's true.
We've probably got his 3-bet range pretty dominated, and we can probably, not saying we can get it in good here, but because and I hate talking about them because it's fucking boring, but we also block aces and kings, so it's way more likely to have like stuff like pocket queens and things, where we can just get it in as a flip, pre-flop. Sometimes get it in. He might fuck it if he's one of these guys who like he's already like 3-bet bluffs, so like ace 5 and ace 4, and he always 3-bet 5-bet shoves them. Then obviously that's a really good situation too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I don't really. I mean, I love a trap as much as the next man. I just don't think Ace King's a particularly good
Best
trap
answer.
hand, because quite often it's going to come down 9 high, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be like, oh, I'm trapping pre-flop. Then it comes 9 high. Then they bet. You're like, oh, all right,
Don't know what
okay.
to do.
Okay, well, now I don't feel like I'm trapping him anymore. Things can go all wildly chaotic quite quickly. You think you're trapping, and next thing you're the one that's running into the fucking tunnel that's been painted on the fucking rock face.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyways, we've done the trap, and my thoughts at this point. Well, no, what's your thoughts at this point?
I think I'm winning with this.
Yeah, I
I
suspect
think
you probably are.
what those? I think you probably could have like you said, queens, jacks, maybe, or king, queen, king 10 would beat me, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but there's only really 2 combinations of king.
Yeah.
In fact, no, there's only 1 combination of king 10. It can only have king 10 of hearts.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1 combo. I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Mm-hmm. Jack 10 maybe, I don't know.
Let's see what he does.
Okay. He bets.
Half pot. So what's the thoughts now?
I did write it down that I should have raised it after.
So why should you have raised it?
For value, I think.
Value from what?
Maybe 10x somewhere, jacks, queens.
So you think a 10x or a jacks and queens are going to call a raise on this board in a 3-bet pot?
No, they've probably been calling now.
Yeah, so and that's the issue. Like, you want to raise your king for value, but the only thing we really get value from is king queen and king. No, we don't get value with hands that beat us. We're fucked against hands that beat us, aren't we? But the problem is, like, king queen is that the only hand, well, one of the only hands we're likely to get like value from, and unless an ace comes, he's going to keep betting that anyway, probably. So we don't need to raise against king queen now, because he's either going to keep betting, or he's going to start checking, and we can still get all the money. Look how much in the pot now if we call 45 bigs. So you got an SPR of 2 going to the turn. So there's nothing stopping it. We don't need to raise, because even if he checks and he has got king queen, we can just go half pot, we can just go half pot, turn, shove, river. So we don't need to raise against king queen for value. So I'd actually just strongly disagree that you should raise here. I think your thought isn't like value. It's your thoughts are, I think I've got the best hand, so I should raise.
Yeah.
But, you know, like when we talk about that for value, like you've also got to think about, like, okay, I think I've got the best hand, but can I get called by worse hands if I raise? And if it's unlikely, then there really isn't an awful lot of point in raising with this type of hand, you know, because, you know, the board's very unlikely to change. But an ace isn't bad for us. So we don't really need to protect against anything. So yeah, I think, like, when you said we should raise for value, again, I think that's kind of like, it's just an old school way of thinking. It's just like, got best hand, must raise. But, you know, like I said, if we had, say, pocket 4s here, then I'd be way more on board with, raise for value now, because all of a sudden there's a load of king X that can call us. We've got top pair, top kicker. Like, what are we going to get value from that isn't going to continue putting money anyway?
That definitely makes sense now.
Sorry, and again, I promise I'm not trying to make you feel
no,
foolish or silly.
I need to learn them also.
But like,
appreciate it.
I was just like, if you'd have said I want to raise here because, you know, I just want to protect my hand, I'd have been like a bit more sympathetic with that, even though there isn't much to protect against. I'd be like, well, at least I know what you're trying to do. You think you've got the best hand, and you just don't want to see any shitty run out. So let's just end the hand now. It's not the right play, but I would have like respected that more, understood it more. Whereas when you're saying for value, I'm going to raise for value here, that just seems like I'm raising, like, when I asked you the question, like, well, that seems like the right thing to say. I'm raising for value, but value from what? And that's always when you're betting or raising for value, you should always be asking, well, what am I trying to get value from? What am I targeting? And if there's like so few hands that are beat that are going to continue, like maybe like if we raise small, like an ace queen or an ace jack suited that's got like backdoor flush draw, they maybe sometimes continue. But it's like a really dry board. So it's really hard to find many continues. Jack Queen doesn't fold, but like maybe he's 3-betting Jack Queen from the big blind, but he's only 4 combos if he is. So like there isn't anything to quote unquote protect against, and there isn't that much to get value from. That isn't going to keep putting money in anyway. So there's just no reason to raise here, and you do want to like and you want to keep his bluffs in too. So yeah, I think the call's, even though you think you should have raised, I actually think the call is very correct.
Oh, okay.
I think it's completely standard. I think doing anything other than call here would probably be sacrificing some EV, you would imagine.
Okay, no worries. Definitely makes sense. And I think he checks now. I think I'll probably bet, to be honest, yeah. So about 2/3 pot.
So that's going to put him down to 50. Yeah, quite like that. Actually, it's going to leave us just under. We could have gone slightly smaller, but it doesn't matter. It's going to leave us like under half pot for the river, which is, when we got this hand, is great. When we're trying to set up some bluffs, probably not so great. But I would probably have gone something along the lines of like half pot here, I think. And I know we had the whole conversation last week about let's not be lazy with half pot. But when we got an SPR,
I think that's what would be there because of last week's conversation.
Yeah. I think when we got an SPR of just 2, and half pot, just gets. If we got 22 bigs here and he calls, that puts 90 bigs in for the river, and it's going to leave him with 60 something. So that's leaving 2/3 pot. So yeah, maybe this is better. You want to set up stacks where it makes him really hard to fold the river, and we get value now from stuff that's maybe check calling one and then maybe planning on shutting down. So we get a bit more value that way. Yeah, I don't hate this. I'm not going to be nitpicky. This is completely fine. I have no problem with it. So what is it? Like 2/3 pot? No problem at all. I think somewhere between half pot on this size would be. I'm trying to think, like when you watch some streamers playing, I'm like, 2E. I was trying to figure out what 2E was, but I'm too fucking thick. So we won't bother. We'll just fucking say that's close enough.
I've never heard that before, 2E.
2E, but it's 3E and 2E. Like 3E is when you're on the flop and you want to bet the same percentage of the pot each street. So you're all in by the river. And 2E is just from like, you want to get it over 2 streets. Like by using equal, like the same percentage of the pot. There's some software that will do that for you, where you click a button, it'll just take you to the 2E or the 3E sizing. Old school fucking shit cunts like me, after like look at the pot size and think, how much do I want the pot to be in the river? It's I don't like that sort of software, by the way. I think it's borderline cheating. When something's like when you're like thinking, I want to. Something that requires you to manually calculate and then someone's doing it for you. I don't really like it. You should be sat at the table thinking, right, if I want to get all in over 2 streets, what's the size? And you should be forced to think about that. You shouldn't just be like
that way, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's all kinds of like software now to help people, and I don't like a lot of it. I'll be honest with you, I'd rather Hudson exist as well, but because they do and people are using them, I use them. But yeah, all these like I think it's like on like Stars caption, 888 caption, but all them things, you all have like 2E and 3E buttons, and I don't like it. I really don't like it. I think you should be forced to at least think a little bit for yourself. But yeah, that's what 2E. What I wanted to do there was 2E. Basically, I wanted to be able to bet like whatever it would be, like probably 60% turn, 60% river, which because the half pot was a bit too small, your size was a bit too big, so somewhere between. As I imagine, it would have been probably would have been at 60% to use the same size twice, but it doesn't matter very much, We're going to get to the river now. We've got half pot left, and I can't imagine a single river that we're going to not get all in on.
I'm too sure what happens.
Oh, why are we not value bet there, Square?
I don't know. I was a bit scared of KJ was tracking with 10s or something like that. I don't know why.
Yeah, but if he is. Tough shit.
No, it's a bit...
Absolutely tough shit if he is. I think like if he does have pocket 10s, fine. He has pocket 10s, good for him. But how likely, as played, do you think it is that he's got pocket 10s?
Not after he checked the turn. I think it's pretty. I think his hand's pretty weak after he checked the turn.
Yeah, I agree. But not necessarily pretty weak because he has checked called.
Yeah, not weak. I mean, it's just a bit.
And because it's the 8 of clubs on the turn, all of a sudden he doesn't have like the backdoor flush draw anymore, or because unless he's like it's like Jack Queen clubs, I guess Jack 10 clubs, maybe hands like that get to the river the same way that maybe you know that are relatively weak. But a lot of the time here, he's just going to have hands like pocket queens, pocket jacks, king queen, and yeah, fair enough. Queens and jacks might fall sometimes, but the board's kind of bricked out. And I think if people have put this much money in, they're not that likely to fold the river. I think that's like it's a crime. This way, it's a big misvalue bet. And the thing is, before you were like doing this with me, you might never ever have reviewed this hand because you won it, and people tend not to review hands they've won.
No, I would not before.
But missing the value here, it's as bad as paying off. You know, there's like so much value in this. This is just an enormously plus EV value bet. It's like infinite EV plus EV.
No, I did write it down, but I don't know why I checked it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that you're worried that you might be beat, but so what? You know, we all lose fucking countless hundreds of hands a day. It'll just be another fucking hand you've lost, and you know, move along. Yeah, but yeah, this is a big crime. This is like the perfect fucking run out. The board hasn't changed. He's called a large turn bet, so he either has a draw that can't call, or he has a hand that we have crushed the vast majority of the time. Like, you think like when we're making a value bet on the river, for it to be a good value bet, we need to win 51% of the time when we're called. When we go all in here and he calls, we win way more than half the time. Way more than half the time. It's just it's like when you're on the river and like you get in spots like this, and I'm the same as you sometimes. I get a bit monster under the bed syndrome when I check back a few too many winners. So I understand the like why you're doing it. You know, I get it, but like you just need to like just steel yourself and be like, right, okay, if I go all in here and he calls, do I win more than half the time? And if you conclude yes, I do, then you just make the bet. It's just that simple. You just make the bet. And if this is the time that you're not good, well, that's built into the win rate because we don't expect to win 100% of the time here when we bet, but we expect, I don't want to put a percentage on it, but we expect to win the vast majority of the time. Because if he has a set of 10s, then, you know, he would have played it differently at least some of the time. You know, he wouldn't always see bet, check, call, check. Sometimes he would see bet, shove, or what have you. So yeah, we just need to like just steel ourselves. Just take a second. I imagine you check this back quite quickly because you're like, oh God, I can just check now, and like because you were probably a bit tense, a bit anxious, and what have you.
Yeah, probably.
You probably check back quite quickly just to like, oh right, okay, just I'm done. I'm done. Like a little bit of a timid check, and you just need to stop, slow down, give yourself that couple of seconds, and then think about value betting. Now you might still decide. After thinking about value betting, I think it's a bit too thin, so I'm not going to. But at least allow that first like wave of emotion of, oh, I'm glad I can just check now. Thank fuck for that. Let that go past, and then start thinking about, well, actually, you know, like, can we get value here now? Now, I'm glad he hasn't like barreled the turn. I'm glad he hasn't shoved the river. I'm relieved, but now. That relief shouldn't just lead itself to a check. Should be, oh God, right, okay. Well, I don't think he's nutted anymore. That's a relief. Now can I get value? And you just take your time a little bit and like just have those thoughts. And I get it. And I feel like a hypocrite here a little bit because I've done this countless times where I'm just happy to show down my hand, and then they'll show me like King Queen, and I'll be fucking gutted.
Yeah, I know.
I just pussied out. I just like wimped out. And this comes from a few things. It comes from like being a little bit risk averse. It comes from maybe playing too many tables. I don't know how many tables you play. And there's lots of reasons why this can happen. And lots of different reasons, which is probably why it happens so much to a lot of us. I mean, the amount of times I'm out of position, I check a river and my opponent doesn't value bet. And I'll like do a double take and I'll be surprised. So it's not just you and I that are doing it. Lots of people.
A few people do it.
But missing this value bet is a difference between being break even and being a winning player. In my opinion, this is a slam dunk, absolute slam, 100% crystal clear, pure value bet. It's not
I,
even. It's not even a decision. If you had like King Jack suited or something, maybe you could be like, well, you can still have King Queen and what have you. But when you've got the Ace and the King, it's an absolute. Even for an old nit like me, it's an absolute slam dunk of it. I'm all in. You can decide what you need to call with. He's got to call with something. He can't just fold everything. He has to find some calls. And I suspect the vast majority of his range is way behind. And he has to find some calls from that part of his range.
So I did write it down after I looked through it last night, thinking that I don't know why I didn't bet, but so I think afterwards, when I got more time to think, I think I know what to do, sort of thing.
Yeah, and
like you said, it's just a case of
So when you say you got more time to think, you got lots of time to think. You know, you play on iPoker. You've got this session going my poker, I presume. For people like last time video of Martin, he's on Stars. He has moved to. He's playing a little bit on iPoker. You've got like 30 seconds in a time bank or 20 seconds in a time bank, so you've got plenty of time to think.
Yeah, no. And all poker's pretty slower than Poker Stars.
Yeah.
In the way they play it, sort of thing. So.
Yeah, probably because of that 50% of the pool will be cheating Russians. Probably try to RTA. So yeah, there's no excuse to not value bet this. You can give me a list of reasons why you didn't do it, and every one of them is just going to be like a weak excuse for basically, bottled it, Reg.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and that's fine. I get it, but we need to like hold ourselves to account for it. I wouldn't be doing my job in trying to help you if I was like, nah, it's fine, don't worry about it, fella. This is a bad check back. It's a trivial jam. Yeah, you know, do you think he's folding that?
No, probably not.
Not in a million. So just there's 51 big blinds on the table, and assuming our win rate is maybe 4 or 5 big blinds, that's 1,000. It's 1,000 hands of the value we've just fucking left lying out there.
I definitely could have got it.
Oh, you could have got the fucking lot without question.
Oh, it's good when you see it.
It is, but you see, I've just noticed that graph. That's a nice shape, isn't it? Yeah, it is gutting. But like I said, they're the sort of hands that people who aren't getting help from their game or who aren't part of like peer-to-peer study groups, they're the sort of hands that people would just not notice because people typically don't review hands they've won. I wouldn't do that before. Most players, when they're reviewing, they look for the big hands they've lost. They see a lot of them were just coolers, and they don't hold themselves to account as to why their win rate's so bad. And a lot of it is because they're missing value.
Yeah, so I wouldn't have done that before I started speaking to you, looking back at the hands I won. So it's a good job that I'm looking.
Excellent.
Through. So hopefully, with your help, I can get there. So this is.
So limped off the 5 big blind stack. Oh, beautiful! You know the man's there. He's battling. He's doing it Elmu style, and we shouldn't take the risk ahead because he just won another fucking bracelet. But he's doing it Elmu style. He's limping off the 5 bigs. Okay, so of course, completely standard. He puts the rest in. That was a tough spot for you.
I sure couldn't. At this point, I sure couldn't raise again.
No, you're not. You can't because his raise isn't a full raise. So all you can do is call.
Okay. Yeah, so I think he's pretty loose. So you could have anything, to be honest. Especially being the big blind. That's just what I do.
Yep, I like it. Nice.
Quite big.
Nice chunky bet.
He raises.
Okay. So now, before you click any more buttons,
I think I should.
What were you thinking at this point? I like shove here against. There's a lot of players.
I don't think I'd do it though. But...
There's a lot of players here I wouldn't like shove. If we were up against this Hugo Castillo here, this 18-13, I would like shove a fucking lot less. A lot less. Because I think Hugo, when he does this, is either going to have like really strong draws or he's going to have like the set or what have you, because he's 18/13. When a 44-34 does this, he can be riddled with Jack X. He can have draws. He could just have random fucking nonsense. I just like all in here. No messing around.
I don't think I went all in there.
Why not then?
Oh, I did.
Oh, good. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, if he has got us beat, tough shit, he's got us beat against someone playing these stats. He's clearly a fish. You know, if the guy's flopped his fucking set of his set as it's good for him. Take the money, sir. Yeah, that's just unlucky, that fella. I mean, we still had like plenty of equity against that too. Like Pocket Kings versus bottom two, we got backdoor diamonds, etc. We probably still had like 30% equity there. We ran into close to top of his range. I have no issue with that. That's just a whatever. It's just a bit of a cooler. Yeah, we could look at that and be like, oh, well, should we have re-raised the flop? Yeah, of course we should. Again, against a lot of players, like I said, no, I wouldn't like re-raising there because they wouldn't have enough worse hands to call with. But some guy playing 44-34, he will have enough worse hands to call with. And yeah, just fucking pile the money in. And when it's not our turn to win, it's not our turn to win. Nothing to see there. Nicely played hand, in my opinion.
Okay. It's pretty fishy games over here.
Now, these are always interesting, right? I was going to say before, because I in the games I play, I see loads of this, like the min 3-bet. And it's like, what fucking size to make it? Because typically our 4-bet size is going to be to around 25, 26 bigs against a normal 3-bet size. When we're out of position, we're normally going to go around 3x. So when we open 2.5x, they make it 7 or 8 or even 9. We're typically going to go like 2.5 to 3x bigger. But because he made it 4, we don't want to just go 10, do we? 10's a fucking ridiculous size to go. It's just as nonsense it fucking gets, isn't it? So I like your size here. You know,
I went back 4 times as big as
it is. Yeah, so I like it. I wouldn't want to see you go any smaller. I wouldn't hate it if you went 20 either, because this guy's just a moron. He's playing 74-58. He's going to continue with a very wide range. So if you'd have gone even bigger, I wouldn't have been bothered. If you'd have gone 24 against this particular opponent, I wouldn't have given a fuck. I'd just be like, yeah, whatever, makes pile money in. And if he's got us beat, you know, if he's got a hand that's better than Jack's, good for him. The reason why I like going bigger is because these sort of players, once they put them in 3-bet in, they're 4 to 4-bet. Like by the population of this particular type of player, their 4 to 4-bet is so fucking low. And Jax is vulnerable. Not just vulnerable to being beat by his range, but imagine like with 4-bet he calls and it comes down ace queen 3. He might not have any of those cards, but all of a sudden we're in a fucking horrible spot. So the fucking bigger is better. You know, if you'd have gone 24 bigs, you'd have been like, yeah, fucking brilliant, let's go. But there's nothing wrong with 16 either. So he just called. So we're obviously way ahead. So now this is where I'd be. We haven't got enough hands. Never mind. If this guy was like really stabby post flop, I'd quite like check jamming here, because we don't know enough about him. I think I just want to bet really big. I mean, it's hard for him to have a 10. There's 2 on the board. It's called a 4-bet pre-flop. I mean, if he's got a 10, good luck to him. His most likely 10s are going to be like 10-9 suited, Jack 10 suited. We have some blockers to that. But if he's a moron, he could have any fucking 10. But we can't be scared of the 10 because good for him. If he can have any 10, he can also have any fucking other random combination of nonsense. So, yeah, if he's got a 10, tough shit for us. I think that's a bit big, to be honest. But well, why not? I mean, the guy's a fucking muppet. He might just not fall pocket 4s here. So so why not, I guess. But I wouldn't have gone quite that big. But it doesn't matter. The guy's such a moron.
25.
What would I have gone? Can you just click it back once so we can see what the stacks are? 105, 30 in the middle. Yeah, and actually, to be fair, I don't mind it because we can just jam the turn, can't we? If he calls, we're just all in on the turn. Yeah, I don't mind it actually, because the guy's a moron. If he raises, if he raises, I'm still not folding. Although I'm less happy if he raises.
No calls.
It doesn't matter what the turn is. We're all in, by the way. We put too much money in, and the guy's a muppet.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah, no problem with this. And there you go. And that's why we like making these big 4-bets, because he made it 16 and he called. If he'd have made it 20, he would have called. You know, just like happy days. Happy days. So why do you think you put that on his review then?
Just to make sure it was all right. I think I played it okay.
No, you play. Basically, we had Overpair versus Muppet. It's pretty hard to fuck them ones up, to be honest. You keep betting till there's no more betting discs left, and hope that they haven't somehow fucking hit a miracle. It's really it's that simple. I mean,
I
yeah.
think before I would have probably shut down a bit once he called the flop and turn.
What's up?
He had a 10 for some reason.
What, even against someone with these stats?
Possibly, yeah, because I used to get fucked over.
Oh yeah, we're all used to getting fucked over by morons.
Yeah, no, so
but ultimately, it's not true, because these are the players where we all make most of our money from. So if we always get fucked over by them, they theoretically they'd be the ones with the 1,000 big blind stack all the time.
Yeah, so it's just
The problem is we remember all the times we've been fucked over by the. I mean, imagine if that had come down to 6-6-10 instead of 10-10-6 and you'd have lost. You'd have had like, oh, I shouldn't have fucking done that. Without question. If this had been 6-6-10 and you'd have played the hand the same way, you'd have lost. You'd have been questioning yourself, did I make the right play? Blah, blah, blah. This goes to show that, yeah, of course you made the right play. Sometimes the morons have it. So that's it. This flop was different. Instead of like looking at this hand now and celebrating a win, you'd be like trying to find a way to play it differently. And that would have been the wrong response to this hand.
okay.
Just because if he did somehow like flop trip sixes and we had jacks, just good for him.
It's one of them.
Yeah, you just when you're in hands against these absolute thunder muppets, just keep piling fucking money in. And now and again, you're going to value on yourself against stuff that you can't comprehend they can have. Because like normally we'll try to hand read and as we get down the streets in the hand, we slowly start eliminating certain hands from people's ranges, from normal players' ranges.
Well, from this one, you can't really.
These guys ain't normal, so it's whatever. It's just literally as simple as overpair, muppet, let's try and get all the money in. And if this is the time that it's weird 2-pair or it's weird 3 of a kind or whatever the fuck he's hit to beat us, then good for him. He just gets the fucking money.
I think the bet size in the world was a lot bigger than it was.
Yeah.
Before I started speaking to you, because you told me to go a bit bigger and.
Yeah, I like it.
Autopilot.
Because this might have been in the half pot streets last week, mightn't it?
Yeah, definitely would have.
So I like it. Good. Excellent. Right, let's do one more, Squire.
Okay.
So this is the 3620 guy, yeah?
This one's a bit looser.
Now, what do you think I'm just saying about?
I probably should record it.
No, I don't mind the squeeze at all, because we've got
the
55-32.
Oh, the size.
Yeah, the size is really, and I don't like using this terminology, but it's really fucking shit, fella.
Yeah,
it's really shit. I mean, we want to be going 4x versus just button alone. And when we're squeezing, I mean, this needs to be like 15 bigs, something like that. Maybe
16 or something.
14, 15, 16. Yeah, this size is really bad. It tells me that it's an easy part of the game to fix that you just unaware of. So it's not a major problem. I think it will have been a major problem for you in the past, but going forward it won't be. When we're in the blinds and we're out of position, we want to 3-bet. Just
should be normally
4x. Simple as that. Just make 4x your new rule. That's it. If you want to go a bit bigger versus min, so if you want to go 4.5x or even 5x versus min, that's what min raises the button. If you want to go 10x, fine. Probably 10x is probably better than 8x, to be honest with you. And then when someone's called, it's 4x, then maybe plus an extra raise size. So I'd say going forward, make 10x your min 3-bet size from the blinds, even versus minimum open. Make it 10x. 4x is your rule, but if 4x doesn't get you to 10 blinds, go to 10 blinds. But 4x is your rule. And if it's a raise from the button and a small blind call, then 5x is your rule, or 15 blinds. So if it's min, raise, and call, then you want to be going to at least to 13 or 14 blinds. You know, you want to be 5x is your minimum you're going to like squeeze. And if it's versus the min open, you probably want to go bigger than 5x because you really need to be charging people a premium to play in position versus you. When we are squeezing, typically it's representing a really strong range. In theory world, we should have some bluffs here. In practice, we don't, and 95+% of the population don't either. It's just going to be incredibly linear and incredibly strong. And you could argue that Ace Jack is absolute bottom of range for doing this because it's a hand that just doesn't play very well post flop.
No, it's pretty.
So yeah, so like make sure that you note this down for your next session. Out of position 3 bets, minimum 4x, absolute bare minimum 4x, because this is way too small, and you're probably just going to get called in 2 spots here most of the time. Yeah, and then we go to the flop and we got Ace Jack off, and it's like it just gets messy.
Badly, have it in my notes, so it's a re-warning.
Okie dokie, right? So we flopped ourselves. What? Right, okay. So. Some rules on multi-way pots. Number 1, we don't bluff. Number 2, all our value bets need to be like stronger. And number 3, we don't pay off. They're the 3 basic rules. So like in a heads-up pot, I mean, this would be a relatively bad c-bet out of position in a heads-up pot because we've only got second pair. But out of position in a multi-way pot, I think this is just like never a bet, I'm afraid. So
yeah, I know.
We just have to. We need to be really when we're putting money in pots in multi-way. When we're putting money in multi-way pots, we need to be really tight in every aspect of the game. In our calling ranges, in our betting ranges, in our raising ranges. Once you multi-way, everything needs to be really ridiculously tighter. You know, we have to make some absurdly tight folds. We have to make some. We just don't get to bluff very often, and our value bets can't be anywhere near as thin because we're up against 2 ranges. It's just way more likely that when people are betting, they just have strong hands, and when we bet, it's way more likely we're only getting called by like particularly strong hands. I think it's going to be really hard for Ace Jack to get called by worse here, with the exception of stuff like King 10, 10, 9, that type of thing. So like draws are going to call us that are worse than us. But in terms of like made hands, it's going to be really hard to get called by a worse made handy. When we have pot after 3 betting pre, and we're already close to bottom of the range pre-flop, and then we only flop second pair. When you tie all them things together, you can see how thin this is already becoming.
Yeah,
and we're only on the flop. It's already thin.
I think it's one pretty shocking, to be honest. I think it gets worse.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll bet again.
Right or now. So why are we betting now?
I honestly don't know.
Because we have like a crystal clear check call here. You know, we've got second pair, we've got the nut flush draw, and like some draws have come in. So this like now all of a sudden like Villain's range on the button is like way stronger than ours. Like we have some nut flushes once in a while here, don't get me wrong. But that's about all we have. The rest of our range doesn't really want to bet. Like if we had pocket aces here, we're like, don't like this much. Pocket kings, don't like it much. So we need to be checking probably close to our entire range here. And that's not like in theory we want to be doing that. Like solvers and stuff are probably doing that quite a lot. But I actually think just in practice, this is one of those spots where I actually think like because I think a lot of the time solvers gets us to do like a lot of counterintuitive stuff that's really hard to implement in game. But solvers would just do an awful lot of checking here. And I think like it's us as humans should be too. You're betting here because you don't want to face a tough decision. You don't want to check and have him make a big bet. So you're making a negative EV bet just to avoid a tough decision.
I think it is just subconsciously trying to stop a hard decision.
Yeah. That's not a reason to bet. That's no reason.
Yeah, I know.
And so many people do it because again, it's the emotional side of it. You know, you don't want to check. What you don't want to do here is check and have him bet the pot one, or have him go all in. You don't want to be facing that decision, so you're betting now. And I can almost guarantee you hoped you fold when you made this bet. You were like, please fold, please fold, please fold. So we're turning like a made hand into a bluff. But what are you trying to make you fold?
Don't know. He's always going to call them all.
If he's got a better hand, he's not folding.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's starting to get uncomfortable with the Queen X. If he's got King Queen no clubs, for example, or excuse me, Queen X no clubs, maybe he's getting a bit scared. But he probably still isn't going to fold it because it's micro-stakes poker and people don't make a habit of folding top pairs. So yeah, this is like, again, it's another like emotional bet. Like, oh right, well a 3-bet pre of blah blah blah, you know, a c-bet the flop. I could have some strong hands here, but the problem is we don't have a lot of strong hands anymore, and a lot of those strong hands want to check. If we had kings or aces even with the club here, we wouldn't want to bet this hand, and maybe we'd want to, but I'd imagine checking would be the better play. And the only hands that are really happy betting here are literally our nut flushes, like our ace 10 of clubs, our ace king of clubs. You know, once in a blue moon, we got the straight flush with the 10-9 of clubs, although X probably not very often. So there's only really our flushes that are happy betting here. The rest of our range is not that comfortable. So when we only have like so few hands that want to bet, we just check our entire range.
I don't know.
But it's hard to do that because you're emotionally invested. This is what you've done here is an emotional thing, not a logical thing. You've just been like, oh, I don't want to face a big bet, so I'm just going to make a bet myself. And it's really poor poker.
It is.
And now we can't fold because we've got a pair of the nut flush draw. And so we have to get it in. But this pot's way too fucking big for our actual hand strength. This pot, we've got second pair and we've managed to get 100 big blinds in. It's unideal. And yeah, the guy just set good for him. Now, imagine if this goes another way. Like, imagine we just check the turn, and we have to check call. We maybe save 40 blinds, 50 blinds, and that's fucking huge long term. And you played the hand correctly. Like, I wouldn't even see bet the flop, but once you do see bet the flop and you turn the draw, we just check. I mean, this hand should have gone check, he bets, we call, turn 8 of clubs, check, he bets, we call, and then check fold river. That would be the standard line here, but. You've allowed your the emotional side of your brain to play this pot, and not the logical, rational side. It's been the emotional side. I mean, we started off with a 3-bet or a squeeze that's too small, and then we've gone bet with a hand that should be checking, just because you're just trying to. I guess it's a mixture of you're just trying to like end the hand, and you don't want to face a tough decision.
Yeah, probably
it's a mixture of those two things. And neither of those things are poker related in terms of like good rational logic. They're just emotional things. I want to end the hand now. That's it. Please fuck off, mate. Please fold everything. You know, he could have a hand like fucking, I don't know, pocket fours here. And you're hoping he folds everything. You're just like, please just fuck off, mate. Please just fuck off. I'm just betting now. I'm representing a strong hand. Please fuck off. So you're not value betting anymore. You're not bluffing. You're just, please go away. You're just flapping around. Like when you're at school and you're bad at fighting like I was, and you want the guy to just go away, so you're shutting your eyes and just waving your arms around. That's what you're doing here. Please just go away. Fuck off. When I open my eyes, I want you to be gone. And that's what you're doing here. And it's really bad. And
I know it is.
So like some of our biggest mistakes in this review session have been you like soothing your like emotional side of your brain rather than embracing tough decisions, or just accepting that sometimes you're going to have to face tough decisions. Sometimes you're going to face bad beats. Sometimes you're going to make value bets where you don't win the hand. And sometimes you're going to have to check hands like this and make some tough decisions. And you're doing things to avoid all of those things because emotionally it's tough. When you face with tough decisions and you quote unquote get them wrong, like if you'd have gone check this flop, check call turn, check fold river, you'd have felt really shitty at the end of it because you'd been like, fucking hell, I played that, I just lost 50 bigs and I played it really weak, and you'd feel shitty. But you would have played the hand way more like close to correct. So sometimes playing well in poker leaves you feeling shit at the end. But it's really hard for players to like play well when the emotional side of their brain is like, just do this. And you need to like, I don't know, how many tables do you typically play?
3 reg tables.
Just 3. So it's not even that you're under time pressure.
No, it won't. I don't know what. Honestly, don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's more like you said, the emotional side of it.
Yeah, you need to let those emotions like, and they soon pass. The problem is that the emotion side comes, and then you act immediately, and then you've still got 25 seconds left on your time bank. Just allow that initial feeling of fucking whatever it is, dread, fear, whatever anxiety, allow that to pass, and then think about what you need to do.
No, it's just like going
You
through
won't sit there stressing for like 25 seconds. You won't spend all 25 seconds like, oh, fuck. You'll have the oh, fuck moment. I don't know what to do. Then that passes, and then you start, right, well, come on, Martin, think on. What do I need to do here?
Think logically.
Yeah, just think logically. Like, right, I've got second pair in a 3-bet pot with like bottom of my pre-flop range. What should I do with that? Probably check. You know, whereas if you flop top set, you're probably like, oh, I'm dead excited, I've got top set, oh, bet. But then slow down. And yeah, you're still going to bet, but then you've more chance of choosing a good sizing.
Think about it more.
Yeah, just allow that. Whenever cards come out that change the board or whatever, you know, whatever it is, whenever flops and turns and rivers come out, there's always that initial reaction to them of either joy or disappointment.
Fear.
Or fear, yeah. You've got to, whatever that initial emotion is, let it crash past you, and it won't take long, and then get on with thinking about the hand.
No, definitely. So looking back for the hands that'll play badly. I know play badly, so I think it would take time to think about them in hand.
Yeah, you're still going to make mistakes, but hopefully then you start making mistakes for better reasons. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there for this week's Squire. But
thank you very much.
We had some good discussion there, didn't we? That was
it's quite good, and hopefully next week, I'll be thinking a lot more. And
just take your time. You're playing 3 tables. There's absolutely no reason to rush. And I imagine, like most players, or like most like semi-recreational players, you're rushing almost every single decision. And then the only times that you don't rush is when you've got like a really good hand and you're trying to think of the perfect value size, so you'll probably have timing tells too.
Yeah.
So just slow down in general. I'm not saying deliberately slow down. I'm not saying hold the game up. If you've got a really easy decision, then make it quickly. But, but when you've got like complex spots like this, just take your time and do right by yourself.
I certainly will, and hopefully show improvements.
Excellent. So there we go. That's the end of the session with Martin. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys got something from it. If you haven't hit the like button yet or left a comment, please do. If you got this far, you must have enjoyed part of it at least. Please hit the like. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that nonsense. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. As always, fuck the Tories and anyone who supports them. And yeah, take care everybody for now. See you in the next video, and yeah, bye-bye.